So I think we just start with a short introduction on why we are broadcasting this in Linsta Live right now, and how we met. I mean, I didn't know you before, but I read your article on Kumparan, and yeah, we started to talk, and after that we published an English translation on History Bersama. So, and then maybe later we can pick some points from that article that you wrote, and maybe you can explain more or make an extra explanation for the followers. And maybe in the end we can have some questions from the people who are here with us today. So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Marjolein van Pagé, the founder of History Bersama. I'm a historian, so I'm not an expert on literature or on Multatuli as such, but of course, I wrote several times about him, and I'm always critical of Max Havelaar and Multatuli. I would say surprised or happily surprised to read your view. Because I mean, how old is this book already? It's like it was written in 1860 or published in 1860, so many years ago now, and still your article was necessary to be written. Maybe first let me explain that before I read your article that was published, I think, on 17 September or something. I was reading another book. This is this book. I don't know if you can see it, but it's written. The title is like Multatuli is alive in Lebak, and it's written by a Dutch writer, Arjan Onder den Wijngaard, and he published, he just wrote like a Facebook post saying that with the title Max Havelaar, the book that killed colonialism. And to be honest, I did not know that was the title of an essay by the famous Pramudia Anantatur. So, not having read your article yet and not knowing this was the title of Pramudia's piece, I just responded to that question, like, was Max Havelaar the book that killed colonialism? And I said to Arjan, no, I don't think that is a book that killed colonialism. So then we had a discussion, and he said that he actually valued the analysis of Pramudia on this more than my analysis. Okay, it's fair. But then your piece came out, and I just added this link to your article below this Facebook discussion. And then it was immediately reported and removed. So that was interesting. I don't know who reported that comment, but I thought, wow, if still in 2021, this cannot be said. So there is your criticism on an old writer like Max Havelaar, what's going on? So that is in short the background of why I decided, like, let's have a more deeper discussion on this via this medium, via Instagram. Maybe for the viewers who don't know you, you are a poet and a writer from Indonesia, and you studied also in New Zealand, and you are an expert on literature. So maybe for the people here in the Netherlands that have not yet known your work, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit or tell something about your background and your position in Indonesia, perhaps, like, maybe you can.
Okay. Thanks, Marjolein, for the intro. And good evening, Holland, from the colony. I'm a troublemaker without a cause. Some Dutch academic called me that because of my essay. I'm a Batak from North Sumatra, but now I live in the city of Yogyakarta in Central Java. I'm a poet. I also write short stories and essays. Essays on mainly on literature, yeah? But also on films. Yeah, I wrote that essay on Max Havelaar because I get this satori after I read Edward Said's Orientalism, yeah? And after that I read other post-colonial heroes like Frans Fanon, Spivak. Yeah? The satori made my eyes open about history. Yeah? You see, living in the world of literature, there are so many texts there, and there are also many texts on Indonesia, which before, like for me, I took for granted that there is nothing beyond the meaning of the text itself. Yeah, I mean, of course, there is this Marxist study about literature, but usually this Marxist thing is more sociological than what is offered by post-colonial theory. So after I got my enlightenment, I started to look at texts whether written by Indonesian or foreigners about Indonesia, and see how Indonesian represented in those texts. Yeah? And Max Havelaar, the novel Max Havelaar, is really, really, yeah, it's really the ur-text for me to dig in. Yeah? I even had classes here with the students in Jogja. We analyzed the novel, of course, in the translated versions, Indonesian translation, as well as watching the movie versions. And I asked them to look at those two texts very carefully, especially the way us represented by Max Havelaar. And in that movie is double, because the way us represented by Max Havelaar plus the film director. Yeah? So it's just double representation. Yeah? To tell you the truth, I hate the movie more than the novel. Yeah, I think the movie sucks. Yeah? It's crap. Sorry, my friends. Yeah, and there are also many historical mistakes, like the Indonesian language they use. You know, it's the kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just not really historical Indonesians or Malay that reflects the time of the setting of the story. Yeah? Back to Max Havelaar. Yeah? In Indonesia, you know, it is a tragedy, not an irony or big surprise, but it's a tragedy that people actually until today they still believe in this propaganda. And Max Havelaar is like what Pramudia Anantatu wrote. Yeah, I mean the title of his article. Yeah? That it is the book that killed colonialism. That actually Multatuli is an anti-colonialist, although it's Decker's anti-colonialist. Yeah? And because of all these things, I decided, plus I was invited to be one of the keynote speaker by this huge Multatulian community in Lebak, Banten. Yeah? They have this annual Multatuli Art Festival.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that is maybe new for some of the Dutch followers, that in Indonesia there is something like Multatuli exists. It's not only read, but it is also, yeah, there are reasons that they even build a museum. Can you explain how you see that?
Yeah, and they even have a Multatuli museum too, you know, and they claim it like the first colonialism museum in Indonesia. Yeah, I mean, and this thing happened in Banten, at the place where, you know, the novel Max Havelaar was set. Yeah, It's like it is not irony, it's a tragedy. You know, those locals, I mean, who were represented, it's like not as human in the novel, yeah, especially their leaders, actually celebrate this novel. It's crazy. It's crazy. What happened? Huh? And because of that, I decided, okay, I'm going to write. I'm going to write the way I used to write. You know, it's 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 a war cry. You know, it's like always. You know, when I put my mind on something seriously, it's going to be strong. People will get hurt, but it's okay because truth is like that. You know, yeah. And yeah, during the symposium, I was really surprised because many speakers, yeah, who claim themselves historian, critical historian, even leftists, actually recycle this myth about the novel and Multatuli. And one part of the novel that in Indonesia is very popular and very often being used to prove that Max Havelaar is actually anti-colonialism and the author is anti-colonial, is the sub-story of Saija and Adinda. Yeah, our great authors, even my hero Rendra, wrote beautiful poem about, you know, based on this story. But I think they are wrong. So this Saija and Adinda story actually prove the racism, the colonialism of the whole novel. I mean, the representations of Indonesian or Banten or whatever we call it, and the representation of the Dutch in that story, Saja, is really contrast. Yeah, the Indonesian part is so horrible, you know, full of injustices done by the local leader and the rest of it, you know, all these things. Batavia is shown as like paradise. Even the rich Dutch there, so kind-hearted, you know. They love Saija, you know. They gave him good job and stuff. And when Saija decided to leave and went back to his village to marry Adinda, this family, this kind-hearted Dutch family, rich family, felt hurt. They were hurt, and they claim that Saija is actually not grateful to what Saija's been having, you know, in the household. For fuck's sake, Saija worked for them. You know, yeah. It's not like she living off their money or their whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
He worked for them. He worked as a.
Yeah, I thought
it's yeah.
What I found.
So
what I found striking is from all this what you're telling. Also, I think we can talk more about this, like the idea of hierarchy that is so important to colonialism. How to, yeah, like here from the Netherlands, the country that was in the colonial hierarchy, the Max Havelaar, the Multatuli types were the highest in that hierarchy. Yet he is honored as a hero because he is actually complaining about the local leaders, right? So how do you see that? How do you see, is that a sort of trap that even apparently critical writers like Renda and Pramudia, who seem to have knowledge about colonialism, but even they fell for that trap? How do you see that?
Yeah, it's hard to answer your question because I also have the same question. Yeah, I mean, like people like Pramudia, it's a very intelligent writer, and he's like a great writer. His knowledge about the colonialism, about early Indonesian history is really awesome. Yeah, but he still cannot see this representational stuff in the novel. Huh? But I think because Pramudia didn't get to know Edward Said. No. He only get to know Edward Saut, which is me. I met him a couple of times. I love the guy. You know, he's great. Yeah, but probably because there is something about Pramudia, Pram. Yeah, we call him Pram. You know, as an intimate what do you call it? Intimate call for him. Yeah, intimate name. Pram. His work, he critiqued them. He critiqued this feudalism really strongly in his work, in his novel especially. All his great novels, basically, the motif is this critique on Javanese feudalism. Yeah. And it's not just a critique, it's really strong critique. Yeah. And so, when he read, I just suspect, yeah, when he read the novel, Max Havelaar, and there is this critique on the local, you know, feudal leaders, yeah, and as corrupt, you know, and doing injustices, you know, to the local people, to the common people. I think this is the point that makes Pram forget the rest. You know? For instance, Pram forgets who the writer is. You know, yeah. There is no neutral text.
Now you just said this. I think it does matter who is what part you take in the hierarchy in colonialism to be able to have the criticism. Like, for example, if I wrote the piece that you wrote and, you know, strongly criticizing Pramudia for what he said about Max Havelaar, it would be very strange and very arrogant for me as a white Dutch to do that. But if you do that because you just read, yeah, I mean that is a difference. And I think also in the person of Multatuli, he is the one. He was a part. He took part in the colonial regime. He was one of the people occupying Indonesia. And if he is having critique on local leadership, then it is so wrong, because he is not having a look at his role in all this, and his, of course, also the upper layer of government. He's not taking that, or he's not considering that at all. Do you agree that it matters who speaks? Does it matter who can say these things? Like, if you have criticism on whatever happens wrongly, maybe in Indonesia, I'm always careful to use the, I mean, I think as a white person, I should focus on the wrongdoings of this top layer, and I cannot do that. For example, if I write a piece like you did, it doesn't matter who is the voice and who addresses issues in a society that is colonized or was colonized. What do you think?
I agree with you. Yeah, I'm like the Max Havelaar novel, the part, you know, the part on Indonesia, it's very much black and white, right? The locals just dark, black, yeah, really black. It's no punning here, yeah. Like their life is sad, their life is terrible, you know, because the leaders are terrible, you know. Not because their land is poor, no. The land is rich, but the leaders are bad, you know. But Max Havelaar never wrote about the Dutch leaders, you know, the Dutch colonial officials, you know. It's only this focus on the local, they're bad. So the meaning, I take, yeah, that because the local leaders are bad, so they need us, the Dutch officials, you know, to replace these corrupt local leaders, all right? We are going to better your life, you know, because you have been, the locals, you know, the pribumi, the common people, you've been ruled by, colonized by your own leaders. You see,
Yeah.
this is the meaning, the meaning of the text. Huh? Even from the beginning of the story in Lebak, you know, his first speech among the local leaders, you know, the way he represented himself, you know, it's like he's a messenger of God, yeah, coming there to help those people, to help
I think that
the
for those who have not read your article, there is like quite a big citation from Multatuli from the Max Havelaar novel, and I recommend everyone to read it, because I think that you really chose a very important part, which actually highlights how extremely arrogant this man was. I mean, he thought that he was the messenger indeed from God or something, to stop what he saw as the wrongdoing by the feudalist system, but not by the colonial system.
yeah. It is it, yeah. So people say, yeah, the novel criticized Javanese feudalism, you know, because it's bad and this, you know? But they never ask, does the novel also criticize the colonialism itself?
Exactly. Yeah.
They stop to that point. That the novel criticized the feudalism in Banten, in Lebak. That's it. So naive, yeah. It's so naive, yeah. Like,
from the Netherlands, I think I can understand from the Netherlands that people want to glorify this man. I mean, even I think it was 2020, the Dutch king opened the Multatuli year in a church in Amsterdam by placing a memorial stone, etc. And so even the king, the family, the Dutch family that actually enriched themselves by the cultuurstelsel, as you can say, they are still honoring him. So I'm always surprised that here they think that he was so brave for speaking up, as if he was ridiculed or if he was criticized. But in fact, he's been embraced by the system itself. And I think it is interesting to wonder why he was embraced and why he is still embraced, apparently even influencing current ideas in Indonesia. Why was it that they did not recognize the arrogant and colonial attitude of the good colonist? I mean, the good colonist, the idea that the Dutch were there to be, I don't know, to save people from suffering, while they were the reason that the suffering was there to begin with.
In Indonesia, in Indonesian as well, we have a word for it. It's called inlander. So it's basically the inlander mentality, yeah. Inlanderism is like this thing about this Dutch academic, who called me troublemaker. Yeah, it is typically the thing that I meant, yeah, before talking about the Multatulis representations of us Indonesian. You see, for this like this Dutch academic person, so he wishes that us Indonesians just accept everything that the Dutch people or the Dutch whatever the Dutch colonialism says about us, and we take it for granted that it is true. That's the way it is. That's the way Indonesians are and going to be. Shit like that, And when Indonesian starts to question that, not just they can't accept this, but they think it's irrational. It's actually irrational for us Indonesian to talk back, to reply, because we are not supposed to do that. We are supposed just to accept it, you see. And this is the colonial mentality, not just colonial, but it's also racism. Yeah? I think that guy is racist, and I was actually surprised that because he invited me to dinner at his place in New Zealand once. So and
You're still talking about this Dutch academic, right? About
yeah,
who called you
because it's a
scherp
good
slijper, yeah?
it's a good example of this colonial mentality. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Yeah, you know, uh, and that is why for many people they cannot see this, they cannot feel it because it's so subtle, especially in the level of academic. Yeah, academic people with the beautiful rhetorics, with their civilized gestures. Not like me. so it's so hard for people to see the truth. Yeah. The, the
And
only the only the only way for you uh, to make them show the truth is actually you have to hurt them, and then they show it. Even
then,
though
yeah.
in not in the obvious way that you expect, but at least they show something that they actually being hurt.
And I
But the
think there
question
is a
is,
lot of emotion involved. For example,
yeah, of course.
when in this case then Multatuli, the white savior prototype, as I like to call him, it is as if people have some identification with him. Like he's here in the Netherlands, he's like, he is important. And then once you, as an Indonesian, say that he is a racist, indeed, it hurts. And then suddenly emotions come up, right? So then
Yeah.
the only, I mean, he could also just reply about the content on why he disagree with you or something. But no, then suddenly only one word, scherp slijper. You are someone
Yeah.
who just critical without reason, a problem
Yeah.
maker, a troublemaker. That is,
It's
I
the
think in itself is racist, right? A racist reflex of how.
in Holland, these Multatulians, are there many women too? Multatulians?
Also, I think, yeah, you have,
Yeah.
yes. Not
Because
only
it
men.
seems that it's the man's problem, because for them is those Dekker is the Ur man, the model man, the model man, the model Dutch man, the Ur colonialist, but nobody see that it's actually colonial,
Yeah.
like that Aryan guy,
Yeah.
yeah. Even his name is already Aryan, neo-Nazi name. Yeah. I mean, set people like that, but they think that they actually have this good intention, good meaning towards us Indonesians. You see, and this is the problem. Yeah. And before, like I said, before I got to know, Edward Said, Frans Fanon, and the rest of them, I also miss this thing, because it's so subtle. This good intention, attitude, this good meaning, yeah. So Edward Said and friends open up this thing, this mask, the civilized mask of the West, to show us how rotten it is underneath. Yeah.
I think it's just like the layer, like just the top layer, like that is hiding, like hiding all the bad things. Like I think in essence, when you think about colonialism and how it changed the mindset of people and also of the occupiers themselves, I think that every human knows what is good and what is right. That is inside us to know, to judge that. So even when you have the occupier, in this case Multatuli or Eduard Douwes Dekker in real life, maybe he knows in his heart what is good and what is right, but still they love to find ways to keep in the position that is so, yeah, that is like with all these privileges, like being the good guy and having all the joy that comes with that. They need a story. And I think also, and that's why I really think your piece is very important, an important contribution. We need to deconstruct the story with which they cover up all these hardcore colonial deeds. It's like cover up or something. It's just, it's not real.
Yeah, this kind of mentality is a mentality of the ruler. You see, yeah, the ruler, the dominant. You know, they believe they. I mean, like those Decker, like Multatuli. You know, he can write text like that because he is the ruler, the dominant ruler of the time of the place. So for him, he took it for granted that there's nothing wrong. There, there is nothing wrong in his opinion, in his attitude, in his representation of the local, because his values, his culture, his civilization is the only true civilization's culture or value. I see. So you in that novel too, you can always see this, how he always compares these values, his so-called enlightenment values, right? Yeah. And being blinded by this, yeah, for the context of the time, I mean, we can understand, yeah, because you know it's a colonial time and they're the ruler, they're dominant, they rule the local people, they colonize the local people. What can you say? But for someone in the 21st century to still have this kind of mentality, I think that person should hang himself. Bunuh diri aja, gantung diri gitu. Gitu kan. You see? Yeah. I mean, it's 21st century now, man. You know, it's not late 19th century. For fuck's sake, get alive. Drink beer bintang at Ascos or something. Read Saut's poetry. You know, don't just read Saut Situmorang's poetry. Yes, it's sad, all right? 21st century, you know, people who claim, I mean, people who actually live in this country, Dutch people, you know, and being involved with the cultural, you know, life here, like that Aryan guy is actually he took part in the movie based on Pramudi Anantato's first novel, Bumi Manusia, yeah? He's the actor there.
Oh,
you know,
mean the writer,
colonial,
Aryan onder den Wijngaard, the writer of
yeah,
that book.
that Aryan guy, yeah. I mean, like, and I check his Facebook. He knows many Indonesian, you know, friends of mine, two actors, you know, writers, you know. I mean, isn't that surprising? You know, people like that. They're not like someone from your village, for instance, huh? who never leave Holland, huh? Who never see Asia, never see Indonesia, you know, never meet the Batak, the cannibal Batak in their life, you know. Yeah.
He speaks Indonesian too.
Precisely. Probably he also has a lover, Indonesian lover, right? And the rest of it, all right? But to still have the kind of mentality, I mean, like, shit, man.
Yeah, and I think I read the whole book, and of course it's in Dutch, so it's difficult to. I mean, it's a big book, but what I found shocking is that in the end he goes. So this Arjan onder den Wijngaard, he's really fan of Multatuli, and he's so happy that there is a museum now in Banten. But then in the end, he goes he gives a sort of conclusion on why Multatuli was so great, and then he actually expresses a belief that he thinks that races exist, because he talks like about the Indonesian, mostly in singular, or the Javanese in singular words, and then he says something like, yeah, the Easterner and the Westerner, and then they cannot understand each other because they are essentially different. And this is like 19th century pure racist theory. And he is reproducing this in a book that is just written. It's new. So I think that maybe we can agree on that whether you are in Indonesia or whether people live in the Netherlands, we have different challenges, I think, when it comes to deconstructing ideas. Here it is the challenge to deconstruct the idea of the occupier, of being the occupier, the dominant. But yeah, is the very idea that races exist, that there are people as if we are essentially different. I mean, we still need to start there, apparently, to address that. And yeah, I think it's what has been changed. What do you think? Did we have any development in are you hopeful, or are you like pessimistic? Like, how will this change?
These races are basically intellectual, right? they're not common people. Like I said, they're not common people who never leave their country, to live in other country, in other cultures, different cultures, right? Foreign cultures, right? But these are people who actually been to foreign countries, foreign cultures, live there, and probably have lovers there, but they're racist.
Yeah.
This is the irony, because we used to think.
Help. Yeah, that is not changing people's mind.
Because we used to think that intellectuals, educated people are not racist, or at least resistant to racism. But this proved that these two men, this white man, they're racist, but they actually intellectual.
Yeah.
They write books for fuck's sakes, They write books, man, yeah. But they're racist. They're not some kind of a truck driver, It's a redneck truck driver with tattoos, all over his bodies, and drink beers and hey man, watching MMA, shit like that. No, these are people who actually lecturers, actors, writing books.
Yep. Yeah, it's still there, and I always well, you encouraged me to write also a piece about Multatuli, and I'm thinking what I can contribute. But my analysis is that what the consequence of first Max Havelaar and then later on the whole ethical policy is that it actually created another group of colonists, like the good colonists, so the people that are colonists and racist, but they find, or they created nice stories about themselves of being these white saviors, and therefore they created like another class of colonists, because at the same time they always arguing with the hardcore colonists, who just said, don't bring us your bullshit, we are just here and we have to just take all these resources. So there's always this clash between colonizers and colonizers, and I see that reflected in current politics. Like if we talk about in the Netherlands right and left, or in the United States maybe you have the Republicans and the Democrats. Like in the leftists here, they will say, I am against racism. I'm sure Arjan onder den Wijngaard and this Kees Snoek also claim to be against racism. So they are leftists. They say that they're socialists. They say that they're pro Black Lives Matter. But I don't know if they cannot even deconstruct the whole Max Havelaar. What does that mean? What does it really mean when they say we are against racism? So for me, it's like a continuation of this ethical class of colonists, the good colonists. They're still there.
The ethical colonist.
Yeah, it's of course impossible. An ethical occupier. How is that possible?
You see, for these people, colonizing us is actually a burden. See, it's a white man's burden.
Yeah.
Because they want to civilize us. They want to make us listen to Mozart, Beethoven. See, stop playing your stupid gamelan or your gondang batak, and yeah. Drink our whiskey. Oh, whiskey is good, yeah. Don't drink your arak or your tua. Yeah. But then there's a problem there too. But they forgot to say, why don't you marry our women too? They never say that, you see? Always. Yeah. Always, You can do it. I mean, look here. You look at you look at colonial text.
Can marry the Indonesian wife.
Yeah. Yes. You look at colonial text. I mean, they like what Van de Venter said or Lord Macaulay said, about us. They're going to make us special human. It's above Homo sapiens. Our color is Indian, our color is Indonesian or Japanese or Batak, but our taste, our education is European, whether Dutch or English, right? They try to make us like them, but almost, but not quite white.
Yeah,
not quite white.
Not equal. Yeah.
Yeah, almost, but not quite white. See, so everything we can imitate. This goes about this imitating, yeah, mimic. We can imitate everything, the way they dress, the way they dream too. It's okay, but don't take our women. So you see, I think for you as a Western woman, it's good to analyze this too. I mean, this racist man, white racist man. This, I mean, like for colored man, you know, nigger, whatever you call it, they can have everything, but not our women. See?
Yeah. I think
Yeah. And
sexism
like I
and
said, but
racism
for them it's okay.
it's like connected.
For them it's okay to have our women, the nyai, become nyai, whatever. Yeah, it's actually quite complex. This psychological problem, you know, and that's why Frantz Fanon's work is awesome. Yeah, but I mean, because of this complexity, you know, for lazy people who lazy to think, to use their brain, lazy to read, you know, hard books to read and the difficult book to read. Yeah, of course, it's like what's this thing? But we need this. For us Indonesian, we need to do this. We need this in order to cleanse, yeah, to clean our history, our colonial history, even today. Our mentality today, this inlanderism today is very strong here, you know, especially with like the present government, it's neoliberal, you know, neoliberal policy. And it is make it complicated and make it really hard to. But we need that. We need that, yeah, to survive as us. Yeah. We need that.
And do you plan to write more essays like you did on Max Havelaar, maybe on other topics?
Yeah, yes. I like this essay of mine, Max Havelaar. I've been adding to it more attack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's going to be long essay, full of attack, so that more people get hurt. More deaths.
Okay, we will be ready to translate.
Yeah, I also want to write an essay on that film too, that Westerling film, right? The Oz, you know.
The Oz. Yeah. You want to write an article about that?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched it a few times. I have a copy of the movie, you know, at home, and I'm collecting materials. Hopefully, I'm not lazy enough, and I start in it because you see, there's this one colonial medium in Indonesia. It's called Historia ID. Yeah. And you know Historia with the Boni Triana person.
Oh,
yeah?
the Historia, the magazine.
Yeah. I think hello Boni Triana, you watching? You are my next target. Watch out. Yeah. Yeah. Because his opinion about Holland, about the history of colonialism, even about that movie, yeah, the Oz, yeah, he wrote about it. I think sucks. Yeah. This guy is dangerous. You know, I know this person from a long time. Yeah, I think he's dangerous, and it's a tragedy that educated man like him, yeah, becomes like what he is now. You know, like I said before, it's like the reverse side. So people like Kees Snook and Aryan. But the saddest thing is actually local. This is the native, the Pribumi. And I think it's from Banten too. It's sad. Yeah?
And what about your opportunities to publish? I mean, the last article was on Kumparan. And you told me that there's sometimes also difficulties with that you are like censored on many platforms. Can you explain why? I can understand why. You're very clearly very
the mainstream media. The mainstream media, they love me, so they refuse to publish my essays now.
That's sad,
but it's okay. There are many online media, right? Kumparan's good too now. Yeah, but yeah, but I also have my own site, Bumi Putra. Yeah. I can use that, and it's quite popular, I think. Yeah.
Can you tell me more about Bumi Putra? What it is for those who don't know?
Bumi Putra is actually a sort of like underground media. Yeah. We published like in the mid of 2000s. Yeah. the only functions, the only functions of this media is to deconstruct the image of Gunawan Muhammad.
Gunawan Muhammad, the writer.
Well, Gunawan Muhammad is famous. He's famous in Holland.
Yeah. I know his name. Yeah.
Kesnok and Aryan, I'm sure they know this guy. Probably they're friends, you know. They drink together in the bar somewhere. Yeah. So this Bumi Putra and we use very impolite language. Yeah. We imitate the little magazines in Europe, like the Dada magazine, the Surrealist magazine. All right. Yeah. So it's a shock therapy. The first time Indonesian literary history, yeah, there is a publication like this. Yeah, it's like a leaflet, newsletter. It's not really a journal or magazine, newsletter. Yeah, and everybody is free to photocopy it and distribute it everywhere. Yeah.
So it was not only online, but it was also printed and distributed.
No, it's actually the original versions, the printed versions. Yeah?
Okay.
So after 7 years, I mean, like, we believe that we succeeded in our mission. Now people know who Gunawan Muhammad is, so we stopped publishing it, yeah? and turned into this online, just online, sort of like to document, you know, the articles they published there, the essays, poetry, whatever, yeah, online, yeah. But basically it's a printed media, yeah.
And how can you explain then about this Muhammad of Gunawan Muhammad and this group around him? I mean, they are translated in foreign languages and stuff, and so your group from the Bumi Putra group, not, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. We are what do you call it? We are the guerrilla, you know, the underground guerrillas, yeah.
The resistance, yeah.
we are they call us the losers, probably, yeah, because you know, because we don't get funding from, you know, for foundation or Prince Claus from Holland, you know. You don't get invited to those countries, right? Yeah, and but yeah, it's always that's the image that they put in the public. See?
Yeah. I think that it's very maybe we can talk about this in another time, or we write about it. But I think in the Netherlands, people are not really aware that the translations that we are receiving from Indonesian novels, whether there is like a political background behind it. Why are we reading? Why are we seeing, like on the Frankfurter Buchmesse, why are we seeing him there, the Gunawan Muhammad people, and not you, for example? And I think that is very, very important, I think, to uncover why that is, because, well, most people in the Netherlands, apart from the experts, do not know anything, not really anything about Indonesian politics. So I think there's a lot of need to be explained, and also what I mean, I'm more from history, and what I found problematic is that when we talk about translations, that we see a lot of books being translated from Dutch to Indonesian, also often with support from all these funds from the Netherlands. But the other way around, I never saw, you know, a recent translation of an Indonesian history or other writer, non-fiction writer, that, you know, has something to tell us. While I think there are many, and yeah, I hope your work will be translated and published in the Netherlands too. But I'm sure there are many more that could be valuable. But it's just striking that it's not done.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that fact there exists. Yeah, it's there's a politics there. It's politics of selections. Yeah? Of course, writers who are a threat to you, to your interest, just forget them. You know, Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy.
But
Yeah, they can do
yeah,
that easily.
but people like Mudan Muhammad or Boni Triana, okay, support them because they will work your work, you know, they will do your work in Indonesia. So see, this is a politics here. It's a politics of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's here too.